Hey guys, welcome to the Foreman Coaching Channel where I teach you to become an awesome foreman, get on top, and stay on top of the industry. And I wanted to let you know I have a book coming out. It is called The Professional Foreman, and it's already written, it's already edited. I'm working with a couple different book producers to find out if I want to work with a producer to have it published or whether I just want to upload it to Amazon. But guess what? As a construction worker, I don't often find myself sitting in a lazy boy flipping pages at night. I'm just not a big reader. Like by the time I get home from work, if I read a book, I'm tired. It puts me to sleep. So I listen to audiobooks, and I've been on an audiobook trip for several years, and the audiobook industry is really cool. It used to be that it was just volunteers that would read audiobooks, but in the last 5 years, there's really been a revolution in the audiobook industry, and they hire great vocal voices and actors and everything to read audiobooks, and it's made books a lot more accessible. Like I can go out and mow the lawn and listen to a good book. So anyway, point being that as soon as this book is released, I plan on following it with the audiobook version because I think that's how most people in the construction industry are going to want to digest this book anyway. There probably will be a paper copy and an ebook edition. And it's going to be called The Professional Foreman. And it really talks about how, foremen in the industry don't treat themselves as professional, which is, it's ironic because we make enough money. I mean, an average foreman's going to run between like $30 million and $300 million worth of work over 10 years. And if you were working for Berkshire Hathaway or some big hedge fund or something like that, and you were pulling down six figures a year, there's no question you would be called a foreman or a professional, But foremen don't tend to consider themselves professionals, and I think it's because I'm not really formally educated, college educated. At least I went to college for music, so I didn't get a project management degree or anything. And so construction kind of ends up being this plan B, It's not a lot of people just plan on, when I grow up, I want to be an electrician. Some do, and that's awesome. But I think for the most part, people I run into in the construction industry, they're there because they've, changed paths a couple times in life, and they're making the most out of where they're at 20, at 30, at 40, and you can still make a fantastic living. I mean, thank goodness I got into the electrical union. I became an electrician. The union part, you wouldn't have to be union to make a good living, but made six figures pretty easily. Got 3 weeks of vacation. I owned my house. I got a boat, a car. I mean, for not going to become a doctor or a lawyer or something, everything turned out really good. And so, with this book, I want to talk about how things can turn out really good for you, and you'll be surprised. Like if you get through a trade school is the first part. That's like the most difficult part, whether it's HVAC or plumbing or framing, or I did electrical. Once you get through your trade school and you learn your trade, then the next step is to lead work. Because once you're leading work, you don't have to physically work that much, and you can actually save the body, and all of a sudden this career you got takes on this more real shape that, hey, I could do this until I retire. If you're out in the field digging the ditches and bending the pipe and knocking the tin and pounding the nails, there's going to come a time where you're going to get tired of that and you're going to want to be in an administrative position. And so here's the big secret that I talk about in the book. It's not that hard. The competition for being a foreman, the bar is so incredibly low. The industry needs foremen so bad. There's just a massive lack of quality foremen out there. And if you're in the construction industry, you already know that what I'm saying is true. You already know what I'm talking about. You've already ran into bad foremen. They're everywhere. And, one of the problems with how do you get to be a good foreman is every company kind of has its own ad hoc way of training foremen. There's really no national system of certification. There's some kind of patched together state certifications or city certifications here, but nothing really cohesive. There's no set standard things you ought to know. And in this book, I boil things down to their basic bullet points. No, there is some really basic bullet points that no matter who you work for, these are the things. If you know these things, you can get to the top pretty quick. And they're not very difficult things, and there's not very many of those things. You learn those things, you get proficient at those things like schedule and manpower loading and things like that. They're a lot less difficult than your trade. As much training as it takes to become a plumber or a mechanic or a fitter or a framer or any of that, learning to be a great foreman, way easier. The problem is that, like I said, there's nobody training people. That's the whole purpose of this channel, is I want to help people make that connection with how to get on top of their industry, because it really helped me out. It really, I have two kids that I was able to pay for college. I got a happy wife. I got a cool house. I got a car, I got a boat, like I said, I take vacation years, so everything turned out really all right, and it can turn out all right for you. You can still be a professional and on top of your industry, even if you found yourself in the construction industry. So look for my book. It's called The Professional Foreman. It's the first one in a series of books that I'm going to be putting out. Because, really, I started writing down notes to give speeches and lectures and stuff at the local, houses and clients that hire me and stuff. And I just found I had so much to say, I just couldn't stop writing. And so I figured I might as well just break it out into chapters and work on the book format. And shoot, before you know it, 3 months later. Well, so I got a lot to say, having spent a lot of time in the industry, and I have a lot of critiques of the industry that I think people don't think about. And the industry is going under a massive change. The rate of change is accelerating. At the same time, we're just dive bombing into this contraction. There's just so much to say about what's going on in the industry and what you can do to stay on top and make sure you're employed 12 months out of the year and making your wage, and that the company wants to keep you. And like I said, it's just some of those insights that you gain after being in the industry for a long time. And the industry is really unfair to a lot of people too. You may or may not realize that the existing regime of foremen were brought up by the prior regime of foremen. So it's not like there's an application and an interview and a resume process for being a foreman. What typically happens is a good apprentice or a good worker on the job, the existing foreman recognizes some motivation. Hey, he looks like he'll work hard, and so they take him under their wing, so to speak, and start training him how to be a foreman, and that's it. So what that does is the most likely people to be picked out for that special training are friends, cousins, uncles, things like that. So if you don't know somebody in the industry, it becomes really difficult for you to get that path to being a foreman. And I think a lot of that is going to change here in the coming years. And I think especially if you know these things that I talk about in the book, and you get an opportunity to demonstrate that you know those things, which I talk about how to do that too, you can get that inside track to being a foreman and making that money. So anyway, book coming out. Watch out for it. Should be out this year, and I'll make sure to announce it a little more clearly before it's actually out. All right, you guys have a good day.